For everybody that doesn't know me, my name is JP. August 3rd of this year, I had 8 years of sobriety from alcohol, drugs, methamphetamines, all sorts of great chemicals I love to put in my body. Let me just start off by saying I'm humbled to do this in this room. I've had a lot of bad memories in this room. You know, for everybody that doesn't know, this used to be a bar, and I used to frequent this bar quite a bit. I used to get kicked out of this bar quite a bit. Remind me later in my story, in case I forget to tell you about that window. It's very important to me. I put blood, sweat, and tears literally into trying to build this thing up, get it to where we could do this. You know, it's been a blessing. You know, it's an amazing thing to take something so sinful and turn it into something so amazing. You know, that's all God. And as far as my testimony, it's not mine. It's just God telling the story through me. You know, it took me a long time to learn that and be able to, you know, speak it without just hating it. You know, it's painful. It's hurtful at times. The first time I gave my testimony was in about a church of about 110 people. I was down right outside of Belize City, Belize on a mission trip. And I was talking with one of the other missionaries. And I told her my story, and she just started bawling. She's like, you've got to tell people. I said, no, I don't want to. Well, we were at our church service, and it was the last few minutes, and anybody got anything else? And I got up there, and I told about a 10-minute testimony. And the next day, we're all like divvied out to go to these homes. We're taking dinner to people, and we're also just kind of loving on them. And I get in this house that's on stilts, and it's no bigger than 2 of those pits. And there's 4 women and a dad that's gone. And we're all sitting there watching High School Musical, of all things. And I'm like, what did I get myself into? And about that time, the door flings open, and there's this big black man with a machete. And I was like, oh my God. You know, I think machete, you know what I think about here, you know. And he looked at me, and he gave me this scowl, and he left. And he comes back, and he has this watermelon, and he starts chopping it up with this machete. He's like, you're JP. And I was like, yeah. He goes, I need to talk to you. So we go out. We get on these 5-gallon buckets. I sit down, and I'm like, so what's going on? He just balks. He's like, JP, I've been praying. I'm hooked on drugs. I can't quit drinking. My family's wanting to leave me. We can't even afford this house we're in. And I did a 12-step right there in the middle of Belize City, eating watermelon cut with a rusty machete, and listen to this man bawl and just pour his heart out for, 45 minutes. And that would not have happened without me having the guts to get up and give him my testimony that night. And the day we left, he came up, he gave me this big hug, he cried, he said, I've been sober since we talked. I'm trying. And I started crying. I was like, man, wow, this trip was worth it. I got to see a lot of things on that mission trip, poverty and poor people, but I got to see a lot of Jesus in that little rundown third world country that just blew my mind. I went on this trip thinking I'm going to change the world, it just changed me. And that's when I got back, and that seed was really sown. A short time later, I called John. I was like, we've got to do something with this. I was in AA for, 4 years before that mission trip, and I didn't hear Jesus once. My first day of sobriety was August 3rd, 2008. I don't need to give a lot of details about what I was like drinking. It was bad. I've had 3 DUIs, a public intox, a lot of trouble, pain, misery, bad relationships, stupid choices, everything that comes along with it. August 3rd, I was on my way home to kill myself. I just had enough. Earlier in that day, we went and got drunk, and I got thrown out of a bar at about noon. Went to a concert, got thrown out of the concert. Was coming home, got home, and I divvied up all these painkillers I had in this box, my little safety kit. Got them ready, and my old guitar player called me. He's like, JP, come out and party with us. One more party, why not? I was always about one more, you know. So we go out, and so man, it's over. And I just knew. You know, I heard a voice that day that just shook me. You're worthless, you're meaningless, you'll never, ever get off drugs and alcohol. Why try? Why? You know, and it just beat me down, and I believed it, and I listened to it. When I got home, it was done. And I rolled a stop sign 2 blocks from my house and got pulled over in my driveway. Got that third DUI. The thing about it was no closer to here than that wall from my front door. You know, and I had my plan, and it was going to happen. And I stumbled getting out of my car, and that's when he arrested me. So I wasn't going to let you sleep it off, but couldn't. So that day saved my life. I went to Alcoholics Anonymous 2 days later. Sobered up. Had 3 kind of years. You know, once you first get sober, life really peaks, you know, because all of a sudden you have good things, money, you know, you're keeping your job, all these relationships are getting better. You know, I got all my fines done, my weekends in jail. One of the weekends I was in jail, some tweakers came and wiped me out. That's a whole other story. That really upset me. You know? But I stayed sober, you know, through the help of some really good people in that program. Met this woman that I used to party with. I already had Kaylin. She was 3, 4-ish. You know, I won't get into the details of me and her mom since she's here, but if you can imagine 2 drunk people, 2 tweakers, 2 people strung out, you can imagine that lifestyle and what that did to her and to us. You know, I took her full time when she was 9 months old. I've had her since. So 3 years I met this woman, you know, she got pregnant, she moved in, life was good-ish. You know, we still had a lot of problems, but we fought over them, so it didn't matter. I had my son Gibson, May 3rd, let us see, 3/9/11, yeah. And I was happy. I had my third birthday on August 3rd of that year, and you know, I was happy, man. I had my 2 kids, I was sober, my son's with me, my daughter's with me, I'm picking up this chip, life is great. You know, all my troubles behind me. You know, I'm clean, I'm sober, I'm kind of doing the right things, sort of. And life was good. August 26th, 17 days later, me and his mom have a big blowout fight. She's going to take the kids and go off and get some time, and I'm going to spend some time, and we're both happy to be away from each other. Next morning, I get a phone call from her, and she's just sobbing and hysterical, and all she said was, "Gibson's dead." And I don't know, man, I lost it. Are you kidding me? It just didn't seem real. It seemed like some kind of dream that I was going to wake up from, but man, it wasn't fake. It was live. So we go to this hotel in Meridian, and it's cops, it's DHS, it's special investigators, family services, confusion. So I got to watch him wheel my son off in a little body bag. And they let me in the room, and I walked in, and there's this little blood spot on the bed, and beer cans and pill bottles just littering the hotel. You know, I could not believe it. That, you know, I lost my son to drugs and alcohol, and I was sober. Now, that was not fair. What killed me the most was, you know, I grew up, I've never met my real dad. If you walked in today, I wouldn't know. My stepdad that raised me until I was 14 died of cancer, and that was a big blow. And then I lost my son. What always stuck out to me was when he was born, they took us back in the room, and it was just me and him while they were taking care of his mom. I had him swaddled up, and he had these big black eyes, little fuzzy red hair, and I made him this promise that I'd be the dad that, I never got to have. That, father, son, you imagine playing baseball, playing catch, doing the fishing, the stuff that fathers and sons get to do. I was going to be a good dad. I felt so robbed that I didn't get that. Once again, God had taken something away from me. I served a God of takeaways and of vengeance. I always thought I served the Old Testament God. Wrath, hate, out to get me. So when my stepdad died in '94, it was the only thing that really saved his soul. He was a very rough around the edges man. And, he got lung cancer and he didn't make it 6 months. And he was a big guy, about Kyle's height, a little taller, just big, broad shouldered. When he died, he weighed 120 some odd pounds. And we just got to watch this man die in slow motion. And we just, ate a 14-year-old kid up. And on his deathbed, I remember him saying, John 14:6, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. He just repeated it over and over. And every time he did, it just stuck in my heart, and I hated God more and more. And that really fueled everything I drank about. Men need men in their lives. Fathers need sons. Daughters need fathers, The man kind of gives you identity, whereas the mom gives you love. So I never had that man identity. I never knew who I was. I just kind of fit in wherever I could. And that's where drugs and alcohol really kicked in. I was drunk, I was good, I was a social butterfly. I wasn't me. I liked not being me. Same time, I told you about that Social Distortion song. It's written by a guy named Mike Ness. It's a worship song you'll never hear on KLOL. And the reason I say that is I was watching an interview, and like I said, I played that song 20 years now, maybe longer. And I never really caught the meaning until the other day. I'm watching this interview with him. He has this big Jesus tattoo on his arm, covered with the rest of his sleeves. And he was talking about how he was high and getting sober, and he wrote this song and this whole album. And it was a prayer to get him out of the life he was living. And I thought, man, you've been sneaking that in for 14 years, and I never knew it. I always played it drunk, at the bars, and never really knew the meaning, And my best friend at the time, Jesse, was the one that taught me that song. He taught me guitar, taught me how to play. Good friend, man. He's probably one of the best guys you'll ever know. And Jesse just never really had a chance. His parents were addicts too. Passed it along to him, and he just kind of grew up in that lifestyle. I was about 3 months sober. Jesse started coming back around. And I asked him, man, sober up, come live with me. Come get your life straight. You can move in today. All you gotta do, don't bring drugs and alcohol in the house. Well, JP, I just, maybe tomorrow, always an excuse. Jesse had 2 daughters. His first daughter got smothered in some blankets in her crib when she was about 5 months old. Her second daughter got choked on some beads a couple of years later. Last time I saw Jesse, I asked him to move back in with me. He said, man, maybe I will. We played guitar, we sat on my porch, smoked a few cigarettes, talked about the good old days. Next day, he shot himself in the head. And I didn't understand why Jesse didn't get sobriety. That was one of my first lessons in recovery is not everybody makes it. We always said one day at a time, and it's true, because that's all we have is today. And come to find out, Jesse's wife had killed both of his daughters, and he just could not take it. And 2 years later, I would understand exactly what he felt. I put on my arm Gibson. I put 2 Samuel 12:23. It said, I will go to him, he will not return to me. When my uncle gave the eulogy at Gibson's funeral, he said that verse. Because, 26 years earlier, he lost a son to SIDS. It was Gibson's age. Me and his son were just 2 months apart. So I can just kind of imagine the pain of watching me grow up, knowing that his son should have been my age too. And he told me that day, everything was said and done, he said, JP, you know, I hate that you're going through this. I know your pain. He's like, just call me if you need anything. So I went back to AA, one day at a time, and forever. I just white knuckled it. And I used to always count days. I have 470 days sober. Well, I stopped counting days at 172, and that was, you know, the day that Gibson was dead, longer than he was alive. I'll never forget, it was Valentine's Day of 2012. And all right, now what do we do now? You know, just a God of my understanding wasn't going to do it anymore. I was on the brink. I was, you know, days away from drinking. What's so special about this place and this building? 2 days after Gibson died, all the funeral arrangements had been made, and we had nothing to do. I was just tired of being sad. You know, I was tired of crying. I was tired of feeling like I did. So my uncle, my brother, cousin-in-law, we all came up here and we bowled. We bowled right there where that lane is. And I remember looking through that window, waiting for everybody to go home so I could come back in here and start drinking again. You know, I was like, as soon as everybody gets away from me, I'm going back. You know, it's all I knew, you know. And then he said those words at the funeral, and it pierced me. I always like Isaiah 5:11, so no word shall pass from my mouth. It shall not return to me empty, but shall accomplish that which I purpose, and shall succeed in the thing for which it was sent. Those words pierced me. John 14:6, 2 Samuel 12:23. So I kind of go through it. I'm getting this urge to go back and come back to church and do this. And I called my uncle up one day. I was like, what do I got to do? And we went through Romans, and 28 through 24, went all through there. And I just bawled. I snot cried, you know. And he snot cried. He told me that night, he said, JP, losing my son, I will do it all over again for this result right here. You know that my words at the funeral pierced, and that you were saved because of it. Yeah, that really struck me. Then I had a real good conversation with my grandpa. A couple months later, it was the first time he ever really talked to me like a man. You know, and I've never seen a man cry, and he just started crying. He said, to see my daughter and son-in-law go through that, to see my grandson go through it, was just devastating. It's like to see the result come out the other side is just, it's a miracle. There's no other way to describe it. You know, that shouldn't happen. You shouldn't have such devastating things in your life turn into blessings. That's who God is, you know. It's our purpose. It's not to, you know, keep everything. This is all mine. Give it that way, you know. Give it out. Head, hands, heart, right? That's what we talk about here. That's why, you know, I got here at 4:30ish, started setting up, started playing my guitar. I'll break down, you know, all full chairs, I'll stack them up. I don't care. I am the church. And it's not me, the church. We are the church. You know, it's one thing to say it. It's another thing to do it. You know, talk is cheap. I want to show people. I don't talk a lot. But, you know, I do a lot for this church. This is my church. John said, you know, I'm all in. Let's go. What are we doing? How do we do it? I don't know. I don't need it. We'll figure it out. Let's go. And we'll go down swinging. If we're going down, we'll go down swinging. I believe that since day one. So I've seen too many people like Jesse that did not get the gospel, did not make it. You know, what for me? I shouldn't have made it. You know, why am I here? You know, I got ran over by my own brother when I was 18. I should have died that night. But I didn't. You know, they got the jaws of life and these big pillows and drug me out from underneath an F-150. You know? How many times did I flipped a car and ended up in a ditch and walked away? You know? There's so many stupid things I've done. You know? Why didn't I get to walk into my house that night and eat all those pills? I don't know. So what am I going to do with it? Show up every Saturday. August 27th, man, of this year was a Saturday. I did not want to come to church. Like, screw those guys. I'm going to go skydiving. I love skydiving. You know, I do. Man. I love skydiving. I have never been so close to God until this moment when the door opens. I'm about to jump out of this freaking airplane. Just kind of hope everything works out. I love it. It tests you. It's like you get to the edge and are you man enough to jump out? Every time I have been. You know, I love that thought of, let's do it. There's nothing between me and God but a little bit of fabric and a whole lot of faith. You know? It's fun. You know, I've seen it. You know, I've seen so many beautiful things. You know, for a year and a half now, I've got to stand on stage and watch as people raise their hands and give their life to God. How amazing is that? I almost tear up every time. I kind of have to turn around and keep strumming, you know, because it's beautiful. That's what we're doing. That's what this church should be. You know, if you're not out here inviting people to come and hear the good news, you're failing. Same with me. If I'm not out there inviting people to share the good news, I'm failing. When I'm at the drop zone, I am the light. I'm the only guy out there not drinking. But you know what? I'm the only guy out there talking about Jesus. You know, it may be a crappy mission field, but I'm having fun while I'm there. And I'm the light. You know, it's not meant to... It's mine. Just give it away. So I've seen beautiful things. I've seen sunsets at 10,000 feet underneath a little piece of string. You know, I've watched the sunrise over, you know, a key in Belize while we're all just sitting there having some prayer session, reading our Bibles, and just seeing God. I've heard the devil. You know, it's beautiful. You know, I think a lot, and I struggle a lot with purpose. You know, what's my purpose? I could read Purpose-Driven Life 1,000 times. You know, it doesn't sink to me. I read something the other day. It's talking about the role of man and who we are. And for so long, I've never known what it was. You know, and something just kind of clicked. You know, I've been so selfish. Selfish is a good way to describe it. You know, secretly selfish, secretly sinful. You know, I've hurt a lot of people in sobriety in Christ. Never meant to. It's just because I was sober doesn't mean I was healed. I've done the 12 steps 2 times. Doesn't mean I need to do them 3. It's always a process. Sin always creeps back in. I like when John talked about the other day, he's at the beach and he's got his back to the water and he's floating. He turns back around and where's his stuff? That's kind of how I've been in ministry. You know, going through the motions this week. And, you know, that's got to change. I mean, it's so easy to get complacent and just think, well, I showed up this week. That's why I came on the 27th. I could have skipped out. No one would have said a word. It's not where I wanted to be. I didn't want to be selfish. I wanted to be with family. You know, I was hurting that day. I needed to be with family. A bunch of drunken skydivers, you know. Didn't do anything for me. I came. And I shed some tears there in that Lauren Daniels song. You know, I just... And that's why I chose that no longer slaves tonight, you know. No longer a slave to fear. Because I've been fear-driven my whole life. I'm afraid to be a man. I'm afraid not to be a man. I'm afraid to be a father. I'm afraid Kaylin's going to end up on the pole. I'm afraid of all these stupid things that don't matter. Because if I'm doing the next right thing, I'm putting God first, the rest will pan out. I have no control over that.
Amen.
I had no control over my drinking until I gave it up. And I had no control over anything. I could sit here and worry about it all day. You know what matters? None. I think I'll end with this. There's two things I really want to talk about before I wrap up. I talked about Gibson's mom. When I first got saved, I hadn't really dug into the Bible. One verse stabbed me right in the heart. Read it, and I was like, not doing that. Simple. It's Mark 11:25. And whenever you stand praying, forgive if you have anything against anyone, so that your Father always, who is in heaven, may forgive you your trespasses. What does that mean? God, forgive me all my sins, but don't let me forgive her. Her sin was unforgivable. Look what it did to me. It doesn't work that way. Just because I can forget it, I won't forget it. But I have to carry it. What good does that do me? It just causes death, man. Carrying around crap. It doesn't matter. I was able to truly forgive her. And then I ran into her out of the blue one day, and I didn't have to strangle her. And that's how it works. It was simple. It was just, okay, good luck. She's still dealing with drugs and alcohol. I get to stand here. I get to play my guitar on Saturday nights. And that's only because I was able to do what God said and forgive. I think I'll close with this. It hit me tonight whenever I was kind of putting this together. I didn't even know what I wanted to talk about. Just wing it, 2 Corinthians 1:4. He comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can comfort others. When we are troubled, we will be able to give them the same comfort God has given us. When Jason got up here, he asked about sponsors, accountability partners. It's what this church is. It's people just like me, John, Trent. Who here has drug and alcohol problems? Well, we've all done it. That's what we're here for. I can't teach you how to build a rocket, but I can teach you how to stay sober a couple of days. Probably teach you guitar, use 3 chords and the truth. That's all I know. That's okay. That's my part. I don't need to get up every Saturday night and give a sermon because you guys would leave. I don't need to sing every weekend too. I proved that tonight. Do your part. That's all I can do. It's simple. Comfort others the way God has comforted me. Because then it points to Him. Well, how did you do it? Not me. Thanks, guys.